I'm saying is that specifically though, right now, and it can delve into a lot of things. That's what I was going to talk about. Is that I'm just specifically talking about the control of a person. And so that means that their thoughts aren't even their thoughts. Why they want to do something and why they think that they want to do that for themselves is not the thought of their own. They don't, like, they're thinking they have this ability, I'm going to go get a slice of pizza and do this and that. But it's not. You're just being controlled. They're being controlled just to do that, to block me, to get in my way, to bother me or whatever. Or like I said, it could be for another reason. And I'm not saying it specifically just to block me. It could be just to see that they're controlled. I don't know. But what I'm saying is that there could also be a lot of other reasons. But what I'm saying is that, so think about that. That means that everything that they are thinking, that they're thinking, they having this free thought of their own to do these things, what they want, isn't their thought. Right? Because I'm witnessing it. I'm watching them. I say, I want to go get a slice of pizza. And then go, I'm getting a slice of pizza. I'm getting a soda. And they keep doing it before me and they have no clue. They think they're just living their daily life. Woohoo, yeah, flipping pancakes and stuff like this and doing whatever. But I know, because I'm witnessing it and I'm watching it right now as it's happening before me in my eyes. And I'm sitting there as I'm going. And like I said, so that's the control of people. That's what happened to me. And that's why I thought, what, am I in hell? Am I in some form of dimension of hell? Like, what's going on here? Obviously, this is impossible. And again, and I want to make this clear though too, this is obviously what you hear, like people who say they have, like people who have mental disorders. I'm probably pretty sure this is what's happening to them. See, when you're stuck in a house and say you don't have the ability to drive or move with the group of people, and you see like that, you can see that these things happening, and it's not a perception. It's not my perception of something that's not really happening. You see what I'm saying? It's actually happening. And so what I'm saying is that I'm sure that when these people like who go to doctors or something say people are doing the same things as me, or they're talking, they're doing the same stuff as me, they're trying to do this and that. It's like, no, this is what's actually happening. What I just explained to you is probably what's happening to them, and therefore they're having the same thoughts. At a certain point they go, wait. They step back and they go, this is weird. And then they go, these people are controlled. And then they probably think, maybe have the same similar thoughts and go, am I dead? Am I in some form of hell? Am I in the twilight zone? Or they go, are they like messing with me? Again, like the Truman Show, that's what you'll see. That's why people go to doctors and they say that, like, people out to get me, they're following me. They're doing the same thing as me. I just thought this and they did it. No, it's because they are being controlled, literally. That's what's happening. And I'm sorry to break it to people who don't want to believe that, or doctors, but that's what's happening. And so and I gave you, listen, and for people, I'm giving you an example of how it happened, and it does make sense because, again, like I said, it's not my perception. I never thought that until it happened so many times. That's when you become aware of it, and you go, oh, you become aware of it and you go, oh, they're being controlled. Okay, like this is weird. And then that's where you delve off into, and that's probably what starts messing with people even more, because you're like, they're controlled. Like, am I dead? All those things, like I'm saying, like, are they in on it? And that's why people probably get mad and like start attacking people and stuff like that or whatever. Like, and again, I'm talking about this for like doctors and stuff like this who tell people like, oh, you need to be on medication. You're like, you have a mental problem. No, people are actually being controlled. It's actually real. And so what's happening is that the person probably starts to feel like that. Like, again, like they think the Truman Show, like they're after me. They're in on it. And then they start getting mad at them. Like, let's say, again, like it happens to them for a week straight. Like, I want to go get, some ribs or whatever from the kitchen. I want to go cook something on the barbecue. And as they go out there, someone goes and walks out right before them, starts cooking on the barbecue, come back in. all that. Remember, again, the key here is that it happens all the time, and it's based on what their thought and what they're going to do, and then someone does it right before them. And so what happens is they're going to probably start to think like people are in on it. Like, hey, you're in on it. Hey, what are you doing? Why are you trying to do this? I know you're doing it on purpose. You're trying to go before me because you know I wanted to cook. They're like, what are you talking about, dude? They're like, I'm just cooking. And that's what's happening, and they're like freaking out because the people who are being controlled or whatever, they don't know that they think that their thoughts are of their own, but they're not. They're being controlled. And so, but the other person that's happening to realizes that they're being controlled, right? Because it can't keep happening like that again over and over till a certain point you realize that, wait, they're being controlled. You have to, right? You either come to a conclusion pretty much as either they're in on it somehow, that you got cameras, it's a Truman Show, they're messing with you, they got mics in their ears, okay, and they're like doing it on purpose, or you come to a conclusion like you're dead or something, or like in hell or some form of dimension like that, or the only other one pretty much is like again is that that they're being controlled. And so that's the main thing, and that's the key issue here, is that's what I'm talking about. And so people are being controlled. And that's what was happening to me, and that's what I want to say. And so not only just inside my house was that happening to me, again, like I talk about in the book, was say then when I leave my house, I'd go, oh, I'm gonna go to the store real fast, to pick something up. And as soon as I walk out the door and I get in my car, I'd be getting in my car, and the neighbor like right next to me would just be going like this, boo, backing out like simultaneously the same exact time as me. And you go, boo, and they're like, and I'm driving behind them going out to the store. And remember, the key here is, sure, those things happen, and it's not a big deal, and it's not something someone will perceive or negatively like that. But what happens is it starts happening every time, all day long, and the next day, and then you realize that they're being controlled, and you realize that it's being done on purpose, and you realize that. So now you realize, oh, when I want to go out to the store, and you get in your car and back up, and your neighbor's going, and you realize that they're being controlled. That they don't even, it's like don't even know what they're doing. Like they have no clue. Like they're just walking around like robots, like, I'm going to the store now. Like, right? Would it have to be like, and honestly, it makes you angry at them, because you're like, gosh, dude, why are you being controlled? Like, you don't even have a thought for yourself. Like, and that's what makes you and it's like, and you're not angry at the person. It's like you're angry being at them, because you know that they're being controlled. And it's like, and it's against you, and they're like being controlled to try to stop you, do it right before you, just to annoy you, or whatever the reason is, and it may be to help you. Okay, I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is, I'm just telling you the control of people is real, and obviously if it's making you upset, I mean, it's trying to bother you. I mean, what else are you gonna think? So when people talk about the control of people, and how would you realize, are you sure it's not just your thought? Like maybe you're just over perceiving things. It's your perception of it. You're thinking negatively. No, because this idea, that thought, actually, that would be really hard to come up with this idea. I mean, you would normally, even if you tried to come up with this idea, I mean, it would be hard to. I mean, I'd be surprised if someone came up with it. It's not something you do. It's a natural reaction, because after a certain point in time, you become aware of it. And again, that would happen to anyone. At a certain point in time, you're going to go, oh, like, what's going on? This is weird. And so, like I said, is imagine that happening to you all day long, not just in your house. So once you leave your house, cars, your neighbors backing up at the same time. Okay, you go to the store late at night. Okay, say you go to the store at 10 o'clock at night or 11 o'clock at night, like there's like no one in the parking lot, and you go in there for a specific item or some random, some special sauce or some special dressing or whatever it may be, or some special item that you want to buy, and you go have that in your thought in your head, and you go straight to this store wherever in there to go get it. And as you're walking in there, you see there's no cars in the parking lot, hardly no one's there. There's maybe only a few customers in the store, the whole entire big store. And say, as you're walking over there, like no one's even in the store, and you go over there, and right when you go to your aisle, someone's going like this. What do I want here? Oh, this looks good. And they're like sitting there, and you're like, and they're getting exactly what you went there to get, and they're just sitting there like twiddling their thumbs, like, and they got a big basket of food that's all, and they're going, ugh. And they're going, this looks good, and they're grabbing it, and you're watching them like, I'm in the twilight zone. And then, like I said, again, as you go there, and you're just like, dude, this is so annoying. And then, like I said, as you go pick something up, say you grab that item, and then as you're walking back to the line to go pay for it, there's just the same amount of other people in the store, a few amount of people, and they're spread out. Let's say in that one, the few other people that could possibly be in the store, and as you're walking up to the register to pay, there's no one even there. Again, one of the random people that no one's even in the store comes, like poof, like they're racing. They go, hurry up, man! Like right before you, and they sit and they go right before you in line as you're going to go in line. And they sit there and pay for your food, and you're like, what is going on? And you sit there and you be like, dude. And it's so freaking annoying. It truly is. It's, oh my gosh. And again, those aren't perceptions, because the person knows exactly what's going on. And it's not a perception, they're being controlled straight up. And so again, then you go home, and then those things start happening again. Like as soon as you go to walk through the door, and again, I write this in my book, like I say that, as soon as you go into your house, and then whatever you're going to do, someone say, now I got to go back to the bathroom. And as you're going in there, you just see someone going, whoop, and close the door freaking right behind you, and to go to the bathroom, and you're like just about to go in there, and you're like, what the you're like, this is unreal, dude. And then you sit there and you go to your room. And so that's what I'm talking about. I hope maybe that makes more sense when I'm explaining it. But and that's the key. And so people are saying people are controlled. What are you talking about? Well, that's what I'm talking about. And so, when you can provide an example like this and show you how it's actually done, that you can see and know that people are being controlled. It's not a perception. And mainly the main thing and the key is that it has to do with your thought. So some things, so this idea, so even for people to think that they're in on it, it's like the Truman Show. Well, but at a certain point, you're not going to think that, because what happens is you realize it when you have the thought like, oh, I want to go to the bathroom now. And before you even get up, like you're just sitting there like, oh, I'm going to go to the bathroom in a second. You already hear, as soon as you have that thought, and they're already getting up, and they go, boop, boop. And they go to the bathroom, and you're like, what the? And so, and again, you have to go with key is that, so once you come to this realization that they're controlled, then that takes you into a whole completely another direction, because you can delve and go into that in so many ways. Like I said, so again, you say, well, they're being controlled. How? Like a robot? Like they go, I want to drink this, I don't know what I'm doing. And so you go, so they're being controlled, but just as important as realizing it and knowing that they're being controlled is how, right? Because to me, and I would hope for other people, they would think the same way too, or as in, if you come to the realization that they're being controlled, would be, how are they being controlled? Because, right, that's almost just as important as them being controlled. You say, how are they being controlled? That's unreal. That's like impossible. And to actually come to that understanding too, that they don't even know what they're doing. They have no thought of their own. And remember, these people, the people that are doing the things, they're living their daily life, and they think their thoughts are their own, what they're doing is of their own, but they're being completely controlled, because I know it, because I'm witnessing it, I'm watching it happen in front of my eyes. And so I know that it's happening. And so when I realize that, I go, so people they're completely controlled. Like, what's going on here? And then you go, so what, the robots, what's going like, that would be your thing. Like, that would be your thought process. And what's also it's almost kind of sad in a way, I guess. I don't know. But, is to think that, like, when those things do happen and that you see it happen and you realize that the only purpose and the only reason they did those things at the same exact moment was just because to do it to you. That you realize that, like, when you pull up, like, and I talk about this in my book, and I pull up and I realize that person, the car who's just driving by when there's no one on the road, and it's at the same exact moment, okay, and I realized that that time they went there, that there was only specifically just to do it to me. And now it's like, wow. So, like, the person who wherever they're coming from, whether they're leaving from work or their house, and they're driving along to get there at that moment, that they have no control, and that whatever they thought they were doing wasn't because they wanted to do it. It was because their thought was that whatever they thought that they were doing wasn't their thought of their own. It was just to come by, just so they could block me. And it's like, wow. And, but like I said, you come to the realization that they're being controlled, obviously. And it is annoying. And there's all these other conclusions. And most people are going to be frustrated and sad and mad. But like I said, but you realize it could be for a different reason. Maybe it is to help me, even though they're being controlled. And you say, because ultimately my story is about God and coming to this realization, but you have those thoughts in your head. But that was the main thing that I did just want to talk about, was the control of people and the things that happen and how they happen, and how one could come to that conclusion and how one could come to that perception. Because someone who's reading it, or a doctor or scientist or someone who's saying that's not true, people aren't controlled, or it's your perception. No, it's not. And remember, and to think that if it's something that would come, thinking that it would be something coming from their perception of it, and that they made it seem like it was that when it wasn't, what I'm saying is that I couldn't even think of that if I tried, honestly, to come up with this thought that they're controlling, they're doing it right before me. That wouldn't even be a thought that would cross my mind. No matter how much I could sit there and try to come up with a scenario in my head, there's no way I could probably ever even come up with that idea. It would just never happen. The only way I could come up with this because it was happening. Like I said, at a certain point in time, and I realized that that's what was happening. And I was witnessing it and watching it every day, is that these people are being controlled. They're walking around like robots like this. They have no control or thought of their own. They could just go like this. And so, like I said, that makes you think, oh man, I don't like, not only, so like I said, the main thing is not only just the control of people, but the thought of how are they being controlled? How are they sitting there just going like they have no control over their thoughts, like a robot? And so, yeah, so either way you look at it, it's like, well, how are people being controlled? How can you know what someone's going to do before they do it? And so that was the main thing. And, what do you call it? And then that also goes into, like, so you say whether it was for a good thing or a bad thing, it's still like, well, this idea that people are being controlled, like, that still seems like, even if someone was being controlled and they're like having a really great day, like, isn't that, like, would you still want to be controlled? Like, you don't even have a thought for yourself. Like, you're just going, you have no idea what you're doing. What you think you're doing is not even you. You have no idea what you're doing. Like, they don't even have no clue what they're doing. They think they do, but they're being completely controlled. And they have no idea. They're just going, oh, yeah, pizza, and I'm going to get a drink. It's like, well, that doesn't sound like too much fun to be controlled, really. And those are the thoughts that came to my mind. So, but that's just what I want to talk about. So that was the main thing, was the control of people and how it is real.